E-News. Breaking news, Justin Bieber is officially off the market, and the lucky girl is Hallie. Now back to our story. The E! True Hollywood story on the famous cannibalistic serial killer, Jeffrey Dahmer.
Today we're going to explore the crimes of Jeffrey Dahmer and determine why he killed at least 17 people. Afterwards, we will analyze the psyche of this serial killer, but to start us off is childhood neighbor and classmate Stacey Bradshaw.
He was always a weird kid. Rode around on his bicycle and hardly ever talked. He was clearly homosexual. I mean, he would always ask the younger boys in the neighborhood to strip for him so he could listen to their heartbeats. Bobby, my younger brother, was one of those boys. Actually, one day I was walking Princess Roxy through the woods, but we were behind our house and I came across this dog's head on a stake, and these other animals and mangled bodies, and I knew it had to be Jeffrey.
Dahmer's first kill was when he was 18 years old. He murdered 19-year-old hitchhiker Stephen Hicks. After having sexual relations, Dahmer beat him to death with a barbell. He cut up his body parts, which he placed in plastic garbage bags, and then buried him behind his house. Dahmer's reasoning behind his first kill was that he didn't want Stephen Hicks to leave. Throughout all of his murders, Dahmer had many signature behaviors. He would bring the men back, drug them, and then make them into his personal sex slaves. Before killing the victim, some were zombie-like in their drug state for days. In some cases, Dahmer performed his own lobotomies by drilling a hole into his living victim and putting acid into their brains. Most died instantly. He would also have mangled body parts around his house and pictures of them over his bed and on his refrigerator. He also kept the skulls of his victims in the fridge. In 1991, Dahmer took home a 14-year-old boy named Conrad Simpson's home. After drugging him and sexually abusing him, the nude boy managed to escape and run down the street. Two neighborhood women called the police, but when they arrived, Dahmer convinced the two policemen that he was his 19-year-old boyfriend, who had run out of his apartment after they had an argument. The boy was too drugged to defend himself, so Dahmer took him back and murdered him. And now an inside look at Jeffrey's past through the eyes of his grandmother.
Jeffrey had a rough childhood. His parents' marriage was tumultuous, and Jeffrey learned violence from them at a very young age. His troubles only worsened when his little brother was born, when Jeffrey was 6 years old. Along with the family constantly being uprooted and moving, Jeffrey was considerably damaged by the excessive amount of attention that his younger brother received. His parents later accused each other of being neglectful, and in their divorce left Jeffrey alone at age 17 in what used to be their home. Later, he came to stay with me. After a couple of years, I made him leave due to the wretched smells coming from the basement, which he blamed on his hobby of dissecting dead animals. The noises from his lovers, his rampant alcoholism were also nuisances, and I couldn't take it anymore.
Dr. Saeed is here with us today to analyze the behaviors and psyche of Jeffrey Dahmer.
It's clear that Jeffrey had issues with men growing up, seeing that his father was extremely neglectful and a male neighbor molested him when he was only a child. This led Jeffrey to find pleasure in strangling, mutilating, eating, and practicing necrophilia on his homosexual male victims. Jeffrey only displayed one sign of the McDonald triad, and it was animal abuse. Jeffrey's desire for domination, his sexual lust, and his need for control all motivated him to commit these heinous crimes. I would label Jeffrey as both a hedonist and a missionary serial killer. He is an obvious hedonist due to his arousal for murder, and a missionary because he only targeted men. He murdered these men because he had extreme issues with attachment and never wanted the men in his life to leave him. By strangling his victims, he would feel sincere closeness to them. Dahmer did not dispose of the bodies because by revisiting the bodies, he would also revisit the relationship. He did not keep the remains as trophies or items that proved his worth, but rather kept them as symbols of his relationship. Dahmer displayed many symptoms agreeing with the self-control theory. His parents were neglectful, leaving him with a dysfunctional childhood. Due to his lack of parental guidance, Dahmer never truly learned how to avoid acting on impulse. I would diagnose Jeffrey Dahmer as a psychopath because he experienced no remorse, empathy, guilt, or anxiety from his murders.
Well, there you have it. That's the inside scoop on the vicious serial killer, Jeffrey Dahmer. See you next time on E! News.